welcome to yet another thunderstriking edition of Situation Report on Live TV. The Situation Report brings you 30 minutes in-depth analysis about major current issues in Monrovia and its environs. My name is Yekezi Zobel, anchoring this episode of the program, and trending stories we're following today say the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications today celebrates World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. Liberia's most popular talk show host and strong critic of President Weah unveils the Liberian leader's most difficult challenge, and USAID Mission Director outlines strategies to end extreme poverty in Liberia. We bring you all these trending developments plus so much more. Once more, my name is Yekezi Zobel, asking you to please invite someone to view along as we take this intermission. To be right back. Pleasant welcome back to Situation Report, and straight into our developments. The Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications today celebrates World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, WTISD, on the theme enabling the positive use of artificial intelligence for all. The celebration began with a parade from up Broad Street to the auditorium of the University of Liberia, where an indoor program was held. The program brought together stakeholders within the telecommunications sector of Liberia. Honorable Zeze Howard, representative of the acting chairperson of the Liberia Telecommunication Authority, read the presidential proclamation at the program.
Liberia has decided, as a member of the ITU, through the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications, to join member states to celebrate May 17, 2018 World Telecommunications and Information Society Day under the theme enabling the positive use of artificial intelligence for all. Now therefore, I, George Mana Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia, by virtue of the authority in me vested, do hereby declare and proclaim Thursday, May 17, 2018, as World Telecommunications and Information Society Day, to be observed throughout the Republic as a working holiday. Furthermore, I do call upon all government ministries, agencies, business houses, national and international ICT organizations concerned, telecommunications companies, and internet service providers to cooperate with the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications to execute appropriate programs befitting the occasion. Given under my hand and seal of the Republic of Liberia, in the city of Monrovia, county of Montserrat, this 17th day of May, in the year of our Lord 2018, and of the independence of the Republic, the 171st. George Mana Weah, President of the Republic of Liberia.
Also at the program, the representative of the Managing Director of Lectercol, Attorney Tadi Brooklyn, read the International Telecommunications Union Secretary General's speech.
Every year on May 17, ITU members around the world celebrate World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is taking center stage with a lot of impact on people's lives. AI's potential power is being exploited and developed at an unprecedented speed. Artificial intelligence brings us many opportunities and challenges. AI will greatly change our economy and society. ITU, in its role of specialized UN agency for ICT services and technologies, wishes to work with academia, researchers, industries, administrations and governments, UN agencies, as well as other stakeholders and partners to facilitate AI development so as to bring the benefits of artificial intelligence to all. Thank you.
Meanwhile, speaking at the program on behalf of Orange Liberia, Mr. Commonweeks emphasized the importance of this year's theme of the World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. Mr. Weeks further said that Africa has been left behind in terms of artificial intelligence, but noted that the continent can still get on par with its counterparts.
In the telecom sector, the theme for this year's celebration, enabling the positive use of artificial intelligence for all, is an important topic for the entire world, but especially for Africa and for us right here in Liberia. When it comes to artificial intelligence, there is no doubt that Africa has been left behind. It's very clear. The rest of the world has made advances because they have the resources, they have the research centers to be more advanced than we are. However, this does not mean that we here in Liberia cannot deploy artificial intelligence as they're being developed to tackle the many, many problems we have in our country. In fact, more than most other places, because the rest of the world has managed to combat a lot of the simple things that we're working to combat, we stand to benefit more from deploying artificial intelligence in our society and communities. And by doing so, we're able to save governments money and we're able to save real lives. As a telecommunications company, we've already developed the platform that when developers start to deploy artificial intelligence, they will have the platform to be able to run on. And this is why as a company, we've started to deploy our 4G LTE network across the country. We are the first GSM company to take 4G LTE networks out of Monrovia and deploy it into 10 cities. I want to close by saying that Orange Liberia, and as a company, will continue to stand with you, especially students who are studying in the IT sector. As you develop products and services, we are standing to support you. We also want to renew our commitment to the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, to the regulators at the Liberia Telecommunications Authority and the government of Liberia that we will continue to be a partner in progress and stand with this government in supporting the government's pro-poor agenda. Thank you very much.
Liberia's most popular talk show host Henry Costa says the most difficult challenge that President Weah has currently is his association with ex-President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Costa, speaking Thursday at the Center for Intellectual Exchange of Opinions in Monrovia, also criticized the recent APM terminal deal arranged by the government of Liberia.
Liberians, the most difficult challenge President Weah has is making tough decisions. His association with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is a problem. I have a major problem with that, and when I meet the president, I will tell him, very bad, face to face. Ellen is the worst thing that has happened to this country. Some of you may not know. Today you're suffering. I have some documents that I just received, and I'm beginning a campaign tomorrow. I will tell you why prices are so high in this country. I will give you numbers, documents. The people are so wicked. Do you know how much we are paying for a carton of chicken at duty? It was about 7%. They increased it now to about 35%. I will give you what it was and what it is now. And you know why they're doing that? because they want to raise revenue by anyhow to support the government. Because other sectors of the economy are not doing well. The royalties and taxes that we collect from the mining companies, they are infinitesimal. They are not enough. 12 million from ArcelorMittal, 10 million from China Union. Over 40% of government revenue come from one place, and that's the free port of Monrovia. Over 40%. That is why they keep jacking it up. And when they increase tariffs, the business people increase prices. Your incomes have not increased, so you find it difficult to afford basic commodities.
Well, Costa speaking further criticized the 2018-2019 national draft budget, noting that it does not have or trickle-down effect on the poor.
Then an initiative which is very good to cut salary of the top earning people in the government. But when Madam Salih left, the payroll was $295 million of the national budget. 60% of the budget was for salaries alone. President Weah comes in, it increases from $295 million to $303 million. It increases from 60% of the total budget to 65% of the budget. Some people say, well, they're attacking the government. No, that's not attack. If your wage bill is so high, how do you then have money to do other things that need to be done? You spend 65% of your budget. Ghana spends 28% of its budget on recurrent expenditure, salaries and stuff. 72% of their $13 billion budget. The budget for Ghana this year, 2018-2019, is $13 billion. Your budget can go into Ghana's budget about 35 times. Just around that. And they spend 28% on salaries and recurrent expenditure. 72% is spent on infrastructure, development, other things, programs, services, social services. Sierra Leone spends 50% of their budget on recurring expenditure and 50%. They're still better than us. Guinea is better than us. Mali there is no country in Africa that Liberia is better than. The challenges President Weah has are enormous. Electricity is the most expensive in the world, the one in Liberia. 55 cents per kilowatt hour. When the hydro was not on, we said when the hydro comes online, the cost of electricity will decrease and the reliability of electricity delivery will improve. But ironically, it has not happened. Anytime it rains, LEC goes off. You know why? It is not the dam. The dam does not go off. It is the very faulty and poor transmission and distribution network. They run a while a bit. Mango. So when you're raining, what the priest can be doing? Sway. Is that correct? Ellen Johnson said he had an opportunity to build an infrastructure, a T&D infrastructure, transmission and distribution. From the point of generation, Mount Coffee, to Monserrato, to Bombing, to Grand Bassa, and to Magibi. The Indians offer us $142 million in a concession loan, a concessionary loan. That money, we would have taken that money to pay over the period of 30 years at a fixed interest rate of 2.5%. With a 6-year moratorium, that means we would not have started paying until after 6 years. That money would have built us an infrastructure so that by the time the hydro comes online, the decent infrastructure will be able to, it can really what? Current will not go off.
Well, if you just joined us, it's a reminder that you're viewing Situation Report on Live TV, a 30 minutes comprehensive presentation of all of the major current events about Monrovia and its environs. My name is Yekezi Zobel, anchoring this episode of the program, and trending stories following today say the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications today celebrates World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. Liberia's most popular talk show host and strong critic of President George Monrovia unveils the Liberian leader's most difficult challenge, and USAID Mission Director outlines strategies to end extreme poverty in Liberia. At this point in time, we'd like to take a break to be right back with the rest of the other developments. Pleasant welcome back to the program, and thanks for rejoining us. The Mission Director of USAID Liberia has revealed 2 ways in which Liberia can achieve its goal of ending extreme poverty. According to Mr. Anthony S. Chan, in order to end extreme poverty, there's a need for Liberia to grow her economy and become more efficient. Mr. Chan also added that ending poverty in Liberia requires financial resources that can only be generated from broad-based and sustained economic growth. He spoke Wednesday at the launch of Development Matters TV and radio program in Monrovia.
That these solutions be Liberian-led and owned if this country is to become self-reliant and achieve its goal of ending extreme poverty and building and achieving a middle-income status. Foreign development assistance may ameliorate the worst aspects of poverty, but it cannot end poverty. Ending poverty requires financial resources that can only be generated from broad-based and sustained economic growth. I often say it's almost like physics. There's only 2 ways to actually solve the poverty problem in this country. You have to grow the economy, and you have to become more efficient. So Liberia is the best position to design and implement the growth-inducing policies needed to end this biting poverty that afflicts so many Liberians. You are best familiar with the root causes and context of your development challenges. You, more than anyone else, can therefore and must therefore bring to bear the requisite knowledge, backgrounds, and skills necessary to take on the risk of poverty reduction in your country. We are convinced that together the Development Matters Conference, the Anthology, and now the Development Matters radio and television series, supplemented by what we hope will be a successful course at the University of Liberia, will contribute to this effort by providing the space for Liberians to engage each other and their leaders in honest, open, and productive dialogues about their country's future.
Also speaking at the program was Jen MacArthur of Internews, who deliberated on the role of the media in development.
Thought leaders is a really important outcome of this program. And using media for development by creating that public space. So it's not just about you as a journalist reporting on what you think is the critical issue. It's about creating a space where citizens can engage in a national dialogue and provide feedback. And online media is a new way to be able to do that. A positive dialogue. I think the other thing that we can fall into in development is a rhetoric of what's wrong and what's broken. And it's important to know and report on what's wrong and not working in Liberia, but we also need to come up with some positive dialogue. What is working? What can we celebrate about our success? What can energize us to make change? And that's a theme throughout this Development Matters series. Nation building. one of the things we found in the elections debates and the research that Harvard University did was that citizens were critical of incumbents and previous candidates, but they still voted the same. So why complain and vote the same? And what you've all told me when I've spoken to journalists around the country is that the loyalty to local commitments is still stronger than the identification with the nation. So to help the nation move on, building that national identity is key. And you can't bring all the citizens into Monrovia to do that. So media is one of the most powerful vehicles for enabling that national identity building. It's like a mirror.
Well, during the panel discussion of the Development Matters TV and radio program launch, 3 law experts in separate statements spoke on media law or laws to protect the freedom of the press.
What needs to be done is, one, I think there has to be a consistent effort in terms of working with the legislature. The first example I need to make is that you will need a strong government partnership. Because when we talk about media freedom and freedom of the press and doing a reform, there is a suspicion from policymakers, especially people in government, that the press has had too much power, and giving additional power, is to sort of give them power to undermine government. So we need government partnership to be able to move forward. We need an outreach strategy to see that media freedom is closely linked to national development. We can learn from the experience of freedom of information. Some of the strong development support we've had, especially from MCC, the Millennium Challenge Corporation, was principally due to the passage of the Freedom of Information Law. Liberia was able to be eligible to get a compact grant to do electricity and roads. So media freedom and free speech are linked to development. They are not separate. That outreach needs to go to them so that they can understand.
Defamation is all about the conduct of a party which injures the reputation or the character of another person by means of either libel, that is, a publication which injures the reputation of the other that we refer to as the plaintiff, or a slander, which is a verbal statement which injures the reputation or character of the other. And when someone's reputation is injured, he may require damages which are in various forms.
When it comes to media law, our penal code doesn't prescribe any such penalty. And that is a danger for freedom of expression. Because what it does, it leaves the judge the power to use his discretionary power to determine what penalties will go towards any violator or in an action of defamation, someone who is found guilty. So what it does, it allows, impermissible restrictions on freedom of expression. And when that happens in terms of excessive fines, it sends a chilling effect on media. Many instances you see that harsh penalties, and I like the fact that Frank mentioned the case involving Front Page Africa, even though it's not a very good example, because in the first place, Front Page Africa was in violation of the statutory requirements. That case should not have been held. But in my opinion, I think the court was magnanimous enough, in the pursuit of freedom of expression, to actually hear the case. The outcome was something else. So what it does is that with that kind of discretion, it is difficult to challenge what would be your basis for taking an appeal because a penalty levied or coming out of a defamation case, the damages and all of that is so exorbitant that one party will end up going to court or his institution will be closed down permanently. And it is something that we need to look at in our jurisdiction. We could also, it is a conjecture for critical thinking so that we can begin to explore other jurisdictions, how it's being dealt with in terms of penalties, fines, when it comes to defamation in that light. Now, there is a standard for defining penalties in many jurisdictions. I know that it started with the United States jurisdiction. In Europe, it's a 4-part standard. In the US, I think it's 3. I'm not going to state verbatim because I don't have it up here. I should be making reference to my notes. But the first thing is that you need to ask yourself when you gave, penalties, whether the aim meets the objective. Is it proportional in that, is there a balance that the crime committed, the punishment levied against that crime is going to deter other people. And it should not be overbearing or excessive.
Meanwhile, the Development Matters TV and radio program launch is intended to extend the dialogue of Liberian thought leaders coming out of the 2017 Liberia Development Conference, LCD, and the LDC anthology, among others. The government of Liberia has announced the reopening of Sarge House, but funds the business with US $3,000. Sarge House is a Lebanese-owned restaurant on 18th Street, St. Paul. According to a Ministry of Information release, the tourism license of the restaurant, which was suspended last Friday, has been restored following the business compliance with the government's demands as a punitive measure for discriminating against single black women. The ministry, in an official statement confirming its pronouncement, however, said as part of the preconditions to restoring the tourism license of the restaurant and its subsequent reopening, the management of Sarge were required to pay a fine of US $3,000 into government's revenue. The pronouncement also orders Sarge to adhere to the women demand by abolishing the discriminatory policy at the restaurant. Meanwhile, the decision to close down the restaurant was triggered by growing complaints that it was discriminating against black women. The protest was sparked by 3 young Liberian women who reported that they were discriminated against at the restaurant by denying them entry because they were black women who were not accompanied by males. However, many other victims disclosed that the discrimination existed for nearly a decade. Well, this I would like to call it a day on this episode of Situation Report, but before leaving you, let's recap major stories we've been pursuing. The Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications today celebrates World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. Liberia's most popular talk show host and strong critic of President Weah unveils the Liberian leader's most difficult challenge, and USAID Mission Director outlines strategies to end extreme poverty in Liberia. Many thanks for your viewing role. For more news and information on Live TV, you can log on to www.livetvonline.com, or better still, find us on YouTube at Large Communications Investment. My name is Yekiazi Zobe, bidding you a pleasant goodbye.